California and Texas, two of the largest and most populous states in the United States, are both facing severe homelessness crises. In terms of the sheer numbers, California's homeless population dwarfs that of Texas. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, over 381,399 Californians were experiencing homelessness in recent estimates. This represents a worrying 14% increase from the previous year and accounts for 29% of the nation's total homeless population, even though California houses only about 12% of the U.S. population. This stark contrast underscores the per capita severity of homelessness in California. In comparison, Texas had an estimated 113,200 people experiencing homelessness in 2023, translating to 7.6% of the country's homeless population. While Texas ranks fifth in the nation for total homelessness, its problem is far smaller in absolute numbers than California's. One of the major differences between the two states is the extent of unsheltered homelessness. In California, over two-thirds of the homeless population, or roughly 223,423 individuals, live unsheltered, on the streets, in encampments, or in vehicles. This highlights the severe shortage of emergency shelters and affordable housing in the state. Texas, by comparison, also faces a significant unsheltered population, with over 48.5% of its homeless individuals living in unsheltered conditions, according to the 2023 Annual Homelessness Assessment Report. While Texas has the 11th highest rate of unsheltered homelessness in the nation, it lags behind California's crisis in scale. However, Texas saw a 6% increase in unsheltered homelessness from 2021, suggesting that the problem is growing more rapidly than in California. Both states are grappling with chronic homelessness, which refers to individuals who have been homeless for a year or more and often suffer from disabling conditions. California's chronic homelessness problem is exacerbated by the state's high cost of living, lack of affordable housing, and inadequate mental health and substance abuse services. Although specific numbers for chronically homeless individuals in California are not cited, the state's overall homeless population growth of 14% indicates that chronic homelessness is likely a significant factor. Texas, on the other hand, reported 18,936 chronically homeless individuals, representing 16% of its total homeless population in 2023. This marks an increase from the 14,158 chronically homeless individuals reported in 2018, reflecting a worrying trend of growing chronic homelessness in the state. Child homelessness is another pressing issue in both California and Texas. In California, over 189,000 public school students experienced homelessness during the 2021 to 2022 school year, accounting for 3.8% of all enrolled students. This highlights the deep impact of housing instability on families and children in the state. Texas, while facing a smaller absolute number of homeless students, still has significant concerns with nearly 31,000 unaccompanied children experiencing homelessness annually. Both states are struggling to address the unique challenges posed by child homelessness, but California's larger overall population makes the issue more widespread there. The issue of undocumented immigrants also plays a role in both states' homelessness crises, but it is particularly pronounced in California. The state is home to approximately 2.74 million undocumented immigrants, which contributes to the strain on housing and social services. Many of these individuals face barriers to employment, education, and health care, making it difficult for them to secure stable housing. The prolonged waiting periods for asylum seekers exacerbate these issues, often pushing individuals and families into homelessness. Texas, with around 1.74 million undocumented immigrants in 2023, also faces similar challenges. Undocumented immigrants represent about 6.7% of Texas's total population, and their struggle to find affordable housing and stable employment contributes to the state's growing homeless population. Both states' undocumented immigrant populations are significant, but California's larger numbers indicate a greater overall impact on its housing crisis. In terms of growth trends, both California and Texas have seen significant increases in their homeless populations in recent years. California's 14% increase in homelessness from the previous year is alarming, but Texas has seen a 7% increase in just the past 3 years and a 22% increase since 2013. These figures suggest that while California's crisis is more acute, homelessness is rising faster in Texas. The causes of this increase are varied, but economic inequality, a shortage of affordable housing, and the growing population of undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers all play critical roles in both states. Homelessness costs, comparing California and Texas. In California, the state has allocated staggering sums towards addressing homelessness. The 2023 to 24 budget alone set aside over $5 billion for housing and homelessness initiatives. This is part of a broader financial effort, as California has spent an eye-popping $17.5 billion between 2018 and 2022, with an additional $20.6 billion allocated through 2024. These funds are directed towards a variety of programs, including Project Homekey, which alone received $3.7 billion to assist local governments in converting hotels and other properties into permanent housing. In comparison, Texas allocated $3.3 billion in its 2023 to 24 budget for housing and homelessness initiatives, indicating a significant difference in financial commitment. Texas has shown a continued dedication to addressing the problem, but its efforts remain dwarfed by California's larger-scale spending. California's high level of spending also comes with an equally high cost per homeless individual. With an estimated homeless population of 381,399 in 2021, dividing the state's $8.2 billion budget for that year yields an average of $42,000 per homeless person. Yet, despite this massive outlay, the state has faced criticism for its lack of success. Between 2018 and 2021, California spent $9.6 billion with only limited progress, highlighting the difficulties of managing a crisis that includes not only homelessness, but also related issues like affordable housing shortages, mental health, and substance abuse. In contrast, Texas spent $14 billion between 2019 and 2024, assisting over 591,400 people. This reflects an average expenditure of $3 billion annually and a broader reach, with more people helped in proportion to the money spent compared to California. While the cost per person in Texas may be lower, the state seems to be achieving more cost-effective outcomes with its comparatively smaller budget. One of California's most pressing issues is its critical shortage of affordable housing units, which exacerbates the homelessness crisis. The state's investment in permanent supportive housing, which combines stable accommodation with social services, is aimed at addressing this gap. However, experts suggest that ending homelessness in California by 2035 could require an additional $100 billion over the next dozen years, meaning the state must find $8.1 billion annually to meet this goal. This projected requirement far exceeds Texas's annual spending, highlighting the magnitude of California's housing crisis. Texas, on the other hand, faces homelessness, but without the same severe affordable housing deficit. While Texas has also invested in permanent supportive housing and homelessness prevention, its real estate market is more affordable overall, reducing the pressure on its budget to address housing shortages at the same scale as California. The differences in local government spending in both states also reflect the broader disparity in resources. In California, major cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego dedicate substantial sums to combating homelessness. Los Angeles, for instance, spends over $1.6 billion annually, while San Francisco and San Diego also allocate hundreds of millions. These local investments are a critical part of California's overall spending strategy, addressing immediate needs such as food, sanitation, and shelter. In Texas, local governments and nonprofits also play an essential role in homelessness prevention and relief efforts. However, the overall scale of spending by Texas cities is smaller, in part due to the lower levels of homelessness compared to California's major urban centers. Ultimately, California's approach to homelessness involves much larger financial investments, but questions remain about the effectiveness of the spending. The state faces not only a homelessness crisis, but also broader structural challenges, particularly related to affordable housing. In contrast, Texas has managed to assist a large number of people with less overall spending, raising the question of whether the state's more focused and cost-effective strategies could serve as a model for other regions. However, the homelessness problem in Texas is also far from resolved as the state continues to grapple with unsheltered populations and rising housing costs in its major cities. Ending the homelessness crisis in either state will require not only continued financial investment, but also innovative policy solutions that go beyond simply increasing funding. Homeless demographics in California and Texas. The homelessness crisis in California and Texas reflects different demographic patterns, rooted in unique social, racial, and economic landscapes. Analyzing these differences helps shed light on the extent of the problem and informs potential solutions. In both states, racial disparities and vulnerable groups emerge as critical factors, though the specifics vary greatly between California and Texas. In California, Black Californians experience the most glaring disparity in homelessness demographics. Despite comprising only about 5% of the state's population, Black Californians made up over 25% of those seeking help from homeless service providers in 2022 to 2023. This overrepresentation speaks to systemic inequalities, such as economic challenges, racial discrimination, and housing access issues, which disproportionately impact Black communities. In comparison, Texas mirrors this racial disparity, though the numbers are slightly lower. Black or African American individuals make up around 22% of the homeless population, while they represent 13.4% of the general population. Although Texas's Black homeless population is smaller in percentage than California's, the disparity between their share of the general population and the homeless population is evident in both states. This suggests that racial inequality is a common theme driving homelessness in both regions. Latinx Californians are another group significantly affected by homelessness. The rise in Latinx homelessness between 2020 and 2022 saw a striking 22% increase, compared to a 6.2% rise in the total homeless population. This alarming statistic suggests that economic pressures, housing costs, and perhaps immigration policies are disproportionately impacting Latinx communities. By 2023, 44% of those experiencing homelessness in California identified as Latinx, which is a staggering figure. In contrast, Texas's Latinx population does not appear to face the same scale of homelessness. In Texas, the Hispanic homeless population rose by only 2.7% in 2023, a smaller increase compared to other racial groups. This suggests that while homelessness is on the rise across Texas, Latinx individuals are less disproportionately affected than in California. White individuals in California and Texas present a notable contrast in their representation among the homeless. In California, white people, though a majority of the general population, are underrepresented in the homeless demographic, making up only around 20% of the state's homeless population. This may reflect better access to resources, employment opportunities, or safety nets within the white community. On the other hand, white individuals in Texas make up 38% of the homeless population, despite comprising about 61% of the general population. While still underrepresented compared to their population size, whites in Texas face a relatively higher rate of homelessness than in California, possibly due to economic conditions, employment gaps, or regional variations in housing access. When it comes to household composition, both California and Texas share some similarities. In California, single adults make up the majority of the homeless population, accounting for around 80%, while families with children represent about 14%. This suggests that single adults, particularly those without family support or sufficient income, are most vulnerable to homelessness. In Texas, the presence of hidden homelessness further complicates understanding the true composition of homeless households. Many individuals, especially families and youths, do not appear in official counts because they live in precarious or unsafe conditions rather than on the streets or in shelters. In Tarrant County, for example, only 26% of homeless individuals utilize shelters, with 70 to 75% living in hidden homeless situations. This hidden population adds an extra layer of complexity to Texas's homelessness issue, one that California may not face to the same extent. Age plays a critical role in both states, but the challenges are more pronounced in California. Over 40% of California's homeless individuals in adult-only households are over 50 years old, indicating that older adults, possibly facing financial and medical emergencies, are at high risk. This aging homeless population highlights the need for more targeted interventions around health care, employment, and social safety nets for older adults. While specific age data for Texas's homeless population is less emphasized, the existence of a significant hidden homeless population may obscure the extent to which older individuals are affected.